Struggling mother offered her ring for food, but the pawnshop owner replied, "We want you, not!" The space station Meridian hung like a tarnished jewel against the void, its once gleaming hull now pitted and scarred from decades of neglect. In the outer ring, known to locals as the Rust Belt, the corridors echoed with the sounds of desperation and the flickering of faulty lighting systems. Neela clutched her daughter's small hand tighter as they navigated the crowded marketplace. Her azure skin, once radiant, had dulled from weeks of stress and poor nutrition, and the tight-fitting pink dress she wore, the last remnant of her former life, clung to her curves, drawing unwanted attention from passers-by. "Mama, I'm hungry," whispered Litha, her violet eyes, so like Neela's own, wide with innocent concern. "Soon, Starlight," Neela promised, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just one more stop." The pawnshop sat wedged between a repair facility and a nutrient paste dispensary, its entrance marked by a flickering holographic sign reading Tanner's Valuables. Taking a deep breath, Neela straightened her shoulders and pushed through the door. Inside, the air hung heavy with the scent of cleaning chemicals, barely masking the underlying mustiness. Display cases lined the walls, filled with the discarded treasures and necessities of those desperate enough to part with them. "Wait here by the door, Litha. Don't touch anything," Neela instructed, guiding her daughter to a small bench. Behind the counter, an elderly, blue-skinned Meridian native looked up, his sharp eyes taking in every detail of Neela's appearance. His brown hooded outfit was simple but well-maintained, a stark contrast to the disheveled state of his shop. "Can I help you?" His voice rasped like sandpaper on metal. Neela approached the counter, slipping the ring from her finger. The small red gemstone caught the dim light, sending crimson reflections dancing across the dusty surface. "I need to sell this," she said, her voice steady despite the shame burning in her chest. "It's Caspian ruby, rare, even before the mines collapsed." Tanner took the ring, producing a small magnifier from beneath the counter. He examined the stone with exaggerated care, turning it this way and that. He muttered, setting down the magnifier. His thin lips curled into something between a smile and a sneer. "We want you, not this trinket." Neela stiffened. "Excuse me? The ring's worth something, sure, but not enough for whatever you're needing." He leaned forward, his voice dropping. "I've got a business associate who runs an establishment catering to discerning clientele. Elderly gentlemen with refined tastes and deep pockets. They'd pay handsomely for someone with your attributes." "I'm looking to sell a ring, not myself," Neela replied coldly. Tanner shrugged. "Then I can offer you 50 credits for the ring. Barely enough for 2 days' worth of food for you and your little one." His gaze shifted to Litha, who was tracing patterns in the dust on the bench. "Or you could make 500 credits in a single night serving drinks and making pleasant conversation. Nothing more required, initially." Neela's stomach twisted. 50 credits wouldn't last long, and she'd already been turned away from every legitimate employment opportunity on the station. Her skills as a cultural liaison, her profession before marriage, were useless in this backwater section of Meridian. "The establishment, it's safe?" she asked, hating the words even as they left her mouth. "The Golden Nebula is the most exclusive club in the outer ring. Security's tight. No one touches the servers without permission." His smile widened, revealing stained teeth. "You'd be treated better there than anywhere else you're likely to find work." Neela glanced back at Litha, who had begun to hum softly to herself, oblivious to the life-altering conversation taking place. "I need someone to watch my daughter while I work," she said, the words tasting like ash. "There's accommodation for staff. Your little one can stay in your quarters." Tanner reached beneath the counter again, producing a data pad. "Here's the address. Ask for Mardox. Tell him Tanner sent you." With trembling fingers, Neela took the pad, her mind racing through alternatives that didn't exist. "And the ring?" she asked. "Consider it a deposit. You'll earn it back within a week." He slipped it into a drawer. "Welcome to your new life, beautiful." Outside, Neela knelt before Litha, brushing a strand of silver-white hair from her daughter's face. "We're going to a new place, Starlight. Somewhere with food and a real bed." "Will Father find us there?" Letha asked, her small face clouding with fear. No, Neela promised, the first truth she'd told all day. He'll never find us there. As they made their way through the crowded corridors toward the address on the datapad, Neela fought back tears. The weight of her wedding ring had been replaced by something far heavier. The burden of a choice made in desperation, with consequences she could only begin to imagine. Behind them, hidden in the shadows of a maintenance alcove, a human man watched their departure, his gray eyes narrowed with interest. The Golden Nebula was nothing like its name suggested. Neela stood in the dimly lit entryway, Litha's small hand clutched in hers, taking in the garish decor. Holographic stars drifted across the ceiling, casting eerie blue light over plush seating arrangements and private booths. The air smelled of exotic incense and expensive liquor. "You must be Tanner's referral," a deep voice rumbled. Neela turned to face a hulking draconian, his scaled skin gleaming in the low light. "Yes, I'm Neela. I was told to ask for Mardox." The draconian's slit pupils widened slightly as he assessed her. "I'm Vox, head of security. Mardox is expecting you." He gestured toward the door marked private. "Your daughter can wait in the staff quarters. First door on the right." Neela hesitated. "I'd prefer she stay with me." Not possible during the interview. Vox's tone left no room for argument. Kneeling down, Neela smoothed Litha's silver hair. "Wait for me in the room, Starlight. I won't be long." Litha nodded solemnly, her violet eyes wide. "Promise you'll come back?" "Always," Nyla whispered, pressing her forehead against her daughter's. After watching Litha disappear through the staff door, Neela followed Vox to Mardox's office. Inside, a corpulent Meridian native with elaborate facial tattoos lounged behind an ornate desk. "Ah, our new addition," Mardox purred, his jowls quivering as he smiled. "Tanner has excellent taste." The interview was brief and humiliating. Mardox explained that her duties would include serving drinks while wearing appropriate attire and entertaining guests with conversation. The pay was as promised, 500 credits per night, but the rules were strict. No leaving the station, no communication with outsiders, no refusal of any reasonable request from clients. You'll start tonight," Mardox concluded, sliding a garment across the desk, a shimmering, nearly transparent dress that would leave little to the imagination. "Your quarters are equipped with a child's bed. Your daughter will remain there during your shifts." "And if I refuse?" Neela asked, though she already knew the answer. Mardox's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Then you're welcome to try your luck elsewhere on Meridian. I hear the processing plants are always hiring, though the radiation exposure might be problematic for a young child." 4 hours later, Neela stood in the main lounge, balancing a tray of exotic cocktails. The dress clung to her curves like a second skin, the material shifting from opaque to transparent with her movements. Her feet ached in the impractical heels and her smile felt frozen on her face. The clientele was exactly as Tanner had described. Wealthy, elderly aliens from various species, all male, all watching her with hungry eyes. Some were more polite than others, but all made their intentions clear through lingering touches and thinly veiled propositions. "Drink for the gentleman in the corner," the bartender muttered, sliding a glowing blue concoction onto her tray. Neela navigated through the crowd toward a shadowy booth where a solitary figure sat. As she approached, she realized with a start that he wasn't an alien at all, but human, a rarity this far from Earth territories. "Your drink, sir," she said, carefully placing the glass on the table. "Thank you." His voice was deep, with an accent she couldn't place. In the dim light, she could make out strong features, close-cropped dark hair, and eyes that seemed to see right through her. Unlike the other patrons, his gaze remained respectfully on her face. "First night?" he asked quietly. Neela hesitated, then nodded. "Is it that obvious?" A slight smile softened his features. "You haven't quite mastered the dead-eyed look of the others yet." He gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Take a break." "You look like you need it." "I can't. They'll notice." "No, they won't." He nodded toward the main floor, where Mardox was engaged in an animated conversation with a group of Centaurian diplomats. 2 minutes. Against her better judgment, Neela slid into the booth, sighing as she took weight off her aching feet. "I'm Marcus," he said, not offering a hand or any other contact. "Neela." I know. At her startled look, he added, I saw you at Tanner's earlier. I make it my business to know what happens in the Rust Belt. A chill ran down Neela's spine. Why? Marcus leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. Because places like the Golden Nebula aren't what they seem. This isn't just a club, Neela. It's a front for something much worse. Their eyes locked, and Neela felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. Something beyond fear or suspicion. There was an intensity to his gaze that made her breath catch. Who are you? She whispered. Someone who can help you and your daughter. But not here. He slid a small data chip across the table. Hide this. When you're alone, access it. It contains my contact information and proof of what I'm telling you. Neela palmed the chip, slipping it into the hidden pocket she'd sewn into her undergarment. Why should I trust you? Marcus's expression softened. You shouldn't. Not yet, but you will. Their fingers brushed as she withdrew her hand, sending an electric current up her arm. The connection was brief but potent. Something primal and undeniable passing between them. Neela! Mardox's voice cut through the moment. Table 3 needs service. I have to go, she murmured, rising quickly. Marcus nodded. We'll talk again? Soon. As she hurried away, Neela could feel his eyes following her, not with the predatory gaze of the other patrons, but with something that felt remarkably like concern. For the first time since arriving at the Golden Nebula, she felt a flicker of hope. What she didn't know was that Marcus had already begun formulating a plan to get her and Litha out, one that would put all their lives at risk. 3 days into her employment at the Golden Nebula, Neela had established a routine: serve drinks, smile vacantly, dodge wandering hands, check on Litha during breaks, collapse into exhausted sleep at dawn. Repeat, tonight was different. The club buzzed with anticipation. A delegation of Proximan dignitaries was expected, and Mardox had been in a frenzy of preparation. You, he snapped, pointing at Neela as she emerged from the staff quarters. You've been requested for private service tonight. Her blood ran cold. Private service? Ambassador Kreth specifically asked for you. He's a very important client. Mardox's eyes narrowed. Very important. You'll do whatever he asks, understand? Neela thought of the data chip hidden in her quarters, still unexamined. And if I refuse? Mardox stepped closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. Then perhaps your daughter would like to try her hand at serving drinks. She's young, but the Proximans appreciate variety. Fighting the urge to strike him, Neela nodded stiffly. What time? Midnight. VIP suite. He handed her a new outfit, even more revealing than her current one. Wear this. Back in her quarters, Neela found Litha napping peacefully. With trembling hands, she retrieved the data chip Marcus had given her and inserted it into her personal console. The screen flickered to life, displaying a series of encrypted files. As she accessed them, her horror grew. Financial records, transport manifests, and medical evaluations, all documenting the movement of merchandise, living beings, through the Golden Nebula and similar establishments across 3 sectors. The most recent file contained images of women who had worked at the club, women Neela had never seen. According to the records, they had been transferred after conditioning to buyers throughout the galaxy. Their sale prices were listed alongside their physical attributes. A message from Marcus was embedded in the final file. Meet me tomorrow, 0300 hours, maintenance shaft 7B. Bring your daughter. Be ready to run. Too late, Neela heard the door slide open behind her. My, what have we here? She whirled to find Mardox standing in the doorway, his eyes fixed on the screen. Beside him loomed Vox, the draconian security chief. Research, Neela said weakly, moving to shield the sleeping Litha. I think not. Mardox's voice was dangerously soft. Vox, secure the child. We'll need to accelerate our timeline for this one. As Vox moved forward, Neela grabbed a nearby bottle and smashed it against the console, lunging at him with the jagged edge. The draconian hissed in pain as the glass sliced across his scaled forearm. Run, Litha! Neela screamed as her daughter jerked awake. What followed was chaos. Litha bolted for the door as Mardox tried to intercept her. Neela threw herself at the club owner, buying her daughter precious seconds to escape into the corridor. Vox recovered quickly, his powerful tail whipping around to knock Neela off her feet. As she hit the floor, a familiar voice shouted from the doorway, "Terran Alliance security." Freeze. Marcus stood silhouetted against the corridor lights, a standard-issue pulse pistol aimed at Vox's head. Behind him, Litha clutched the leg of another human officer. "You're early," Nella gasped, blood trickling from a cut on her lip. "Your daughter found one of my agents in the corridor," Marcus replied, his eyes never leaving the Draconian. "Smart kid." Marduk snarled. "You have no jurisdiction here, human." "Actually, we do." Marcus's smile was cold. "Trafficking sentience is a violation of Galactic Compact Article 17. The Terran Alliance is authorized to intervene anywhere such activities occur." As the second officer moved to secure Marduk's, Vox lunged unexpectedly, his claws extended toward Neela's throat. Marcus fired without hesitation, the pulse blast catching the Draconian mid-leap. In the sudden silence, Marcus knelt beside Neela. "Are you hurt?" "No," she whispered, acutely aware of his proximity, the warmth of his hand on her shoulder. Despite the danger, despite everything, her body responded to his touch with a rush of heat that had nothing to do with fear. His eyes darkened as he helped her to her feet, his fingers lingering on her skin. "We need to move." "There are more security personnel throughout the club." "The other women," Naila said urgently. "There are records." "We know. This operation has been planned for months. Teams are moving throughout the station as we speak." He guided her toward the door where Litha waited with the other officer. "But right now, my priority is getting you two to safety." As they moved through the back corridors of the Golden Nebula, alarm sirens began to wail. Marcus led them to a service elevator, his hand resting protectively at the small of Neela's back. "Where are we going?" Litha asked, her small face pinched with worry. "Somewhere safe," Marcus promised, smiling down at her. A Terran Alliance vessel docked on the other side of the station. In the confined space of the elevator, Neela was intensely aware of Marcus, his scent, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the controlled power in his movements. When their eyes met, the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken possibilities. "Why did you help us?" she asked softly. "It's my job, he replied, but his expression suggested there was more to it than professional duty. "And after? What happens to us then?" Marcus's gaze softened. "That depends on what you want, Neela." The elevator doors opened to reveal a maintenance tunnel stretching into darkness. As they moved forward, Neela realized that for the first time since fleeing her husband, she was allowing herself to want something beyond mere survival. And what she wanted was standing right beside her, leading her toward freedom. The maintenance tunnels twisted through Meridian Station like arteries, dimly lit and reeking of industrial lubricants. Marcus led their small group forward, his pulse pistol ready. Behind him, Neela clutched Litha's hand while Officer Keller brought up the rear. "How much further?" Nella whispered, her voice echoing slightly in the metal corridor. "Docking bay is 2 levels up," Marcus replied. "We've got a team securing the route ahead." A sudden explosion rocked the tunnel, sending them staggering against the walls. Emergency lights flashed red as the station's alert system blared. "What was that?" Litha cried, clinging to her mother. Marcus pressed his comm unit. "Team 1, report." Static answered him. "Team 1, do you copy?" Keller's comm crackled to life instead. "Sir, security breach in Section 4C. Multiple hostiles. They have cut off the primary route to the ship." "Damn it," Marcus muttered. He turned to Neela. "Change of plan. We need to split up." Neela's grip on Litha tightened. "No, we stay together." "Listen to me," Marcus said, his hands on her shoulders. "Keller will take Litha directly to the ship through the service ducts. They're too small for adults, but perfect for a child and someone Keller's size. You and I will create a diversion." Neela looked down at her daughter's frightened face. "I can't leave her." "Mom, I'll be okay," Litha said with surprising resolve. "Officer Keller has a gun." Keller nodded, her petite frame belying her combat experience. "I'll protect her with my life, ma'am." After a moment's hesitation, Neela knelt before Litha. Be brave, Starlight. I'll see you on the ship. Promise? Litha's violet eyes were wide. Promise. Neela embraced her daughter fiercely before releasing her to Keller's care. As they disappeared into a narrow side duct, Marcus checked his weapon. We'll head for Junction 12. From there, we can access an alternative route to the docking bay. They moved swiftly through the tunnels, the sounds of pursuit growing behind them. At a four-way intersection, Marcus suddenly pulled Neela into a recessed doorway as a patrol of security officers rushed past. Pressed against his chest in the narrow space, Neela could feel his heart pounding in time with hers. His body was warm, solid, human, yet somehow more vital than any being she'd encountered before. They're blocking all direct paths, he whispered against her hair. We need somewhere to lay low until they move on. The door behind them yielded to Marcus's override code, revealing an abandoned storage unit. They slipped inside and he secured the lock. Communications are being jammed, he said, checking his equipment. We're on our own for now. The room was small, cluttered with decommissioned machinery and supply crates. A single emergency light cast everything in a soft blue glow that made Neela's skin shimmer. Will Litha make it to the ship? She asked, hugging herself against the chill. Keller is one of our best. If anyone can get her there safely, it's her. Marcus removed his tactical jacket and draped it over Neela's shoulders. Here, you're shivering. The jacket carried his scent, clean sweat, some unfamiliar herbal soap, and something distinctly human. Neela pulled it closer, finding comfort in its warmth. Your husband, Marcus said suddenly. Our intelligence says he's on his way to Meridian. Neela froze. Ren? How did he find me? He's connected to the trafficking ring. High up, from what we can tell. Marcus's expression darkened. When Mardox realized who you were, he alerted your husband immediately. I should have known, Neela whispered. The diplomatic parties, the frequent travel. I thought he was just a cultural attaché. He's much more than that. Ren Voss is one of the primary financiers of the entire operation. Marcus moved closer, his voice gentle. We've been tracking him for months. Your escape from him actually accelerated our timeline. Neela laughed bitterly. So I'm still just a commodity, useful to the Terran Alliance as bait for a bigger fish. No! Marcus's denial was immediate and fierce. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. You were never just a mission parameter to me. From the moment I saw you in that pawn shop, trying to sell your ring to feed your daughter, I knew you were something special. The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. In that moment, the danger outside seemed to recede. There was only this room, this man, and the electric current flowing between them. I don't understand humans, she murmured. My people form connections based on practical considerations, social standing, genetic compatibility. But you act on instinct, on feeling. Is that so terrible? His thumb traced the curve of her cheek. No, it's liberating. Neela leaned into his touch. In all my life, I've never chosen for myself. My parents chose my education, my society chose my role, my husband chose my fate, until I ran. And now, Marcus's voice had dropped to a husky whisper, now I choose this. Neela closed the distance between them, her lips finding his in a kiss that started tentative, but quickly blazed into something more primal. His arms encircled her, strong yet gentle, as if she were something precious rather than something to be possessed. The sensation was intoxicating, being wanted rather than owned. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, a series of explosions in the distance reminded them of their precarious situation. We should move soon, Marcus said, though he made no effort to release her. Neela nodded, but neither of them stepped away. In this stolen moment, in this forgotten corner of a vast station, they had found something unexpected, a connection that transcended species and circumstance. And for now, that was enough. The storage unit had become a sanctuary, a pocket of warmth and connection amid the chaos of the station. Neela lay nestled against Marcus's chest, their bodies intertwined on his makeshift bed of emergency blankets. The past hour had been a revelation, Human intimacy was nothing like the clinical coupling of her species. Where her people approached physical union as a biological necessity, humans transformed it into something transcendent. "You're smiling," Marcus murmured, tracing the curve of her lips. "I'm happy," Neela replied, surprised by the truth of it. "I didn't know it could be like this." Marcus chuckled, the sound rumbling pleasantly against her ear. "Like what?" "So equal. With my husband, with any male of my species, intimacy is about dominance. The female submits, endures." She propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face. "But you humans, you give as much as you take. That's how it should be." His fingers tangled in her silver-white hair. "A partnership." The words settled in her chest like a warm stone. Partnership, not ownership, not subjugation. The concept was as alien to her culture as Marcus himself, yet it felt right in a way nothing in her life ever had. A distant explosion jolted them from their reverie. "We need to move," Marcus said, reluctantly disentangling himself. "The diversion teams can only keep security occupied for so long." They dressed quickly, the intimacy of moments before giving way to focused efficiency. Marcus checked his weapon while Neela secured her clothing, now supplemented with pieces of his tactical gear for better mobility. "The route to Docking Bay 7 should be clear by now," he said, consulting his datapad. "If we—" The storage unit door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. "How touching," came a familiar voice. "The runaway wife finds comfort in alien arms." Tanner stood in the doorway, a disruptor pistol aimed at Marcus's chest. Gone was the shabby pawnshop owner's disguise. He now wore the sleek uniform of a high-ranking security officer, the insignia of House Voss gleaming on his collar. "Yo," Neela breathed, instinctively stepping closer to Marcus. "Me?" Tanner agreed with a mocking bow. "Lord Voss's most trusted agent. Did you really think your escape was coincidental, Neela? That you just happened to find your way to my shop? To the Golden Nebula?" Marcus moved subtly, positioning himself between Neela and the weapon. "You've been tracking her all along." "Of course. Lord Voss is possessive of his property." Tanner's gaze slid to Neela. "Though I must say, I'm disappointed. I expected better from you than to debase yourself with a human." Neela felt Marcus tense beside her. "I'm not property," she said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. And what happened between us was my choice." Tanner laughed. "Choice? What an adorably human concept. Your husband will be most displeased to learn how thoroughly you've embraced their primitive ideals." "Where's Litha?" Neela demanded. "If you've hurt her?" "Your offspring is safely aboard the human vessel as planned." At their confused expressions, Tanner smiled thinly. "Oh yes, we allowed that." "She's the perfect incentive to ensure your cooperation, isn't she? Come quietly, and she remains unharmed. Resist, and, well, accidents happen, even on sophisticated Terran ships." Marcus's hand inched toward his holstered weapon. "You're bluffing. Our security is compromised," Tanner finished. "Did you think you were the only ones with agents in place?" "Lord Voss has been preparing for this eventuality since she first ran." Neela's mind raced. If Tanner was telling the truth, Litha was in danger. If he was lying, they might still have a chance to reach the ship. Either way, they needed to get past him. "What does Ren want?" she asked, buying time as she felt Marcus shifting his weight, preparing to move. "You, of course, his prized possession, the mother of his heir." Tanner's smile widened. "Though after your dalliance with this human, I imagine his welcome won't be as warm as it might have been." "And the trafficking operation?" Marcus interjected. "Does he plan to continue that as well?" Tanner shrugged. "Business is business. The demand for exotic companions is endless, and the supply, well, there are always desperate souls like Neela, willing to sell themselves for a few credits." "I never sold myself," Neela snapped. "I was tricked, coerced." "Semantics," Tanner dismissed. "Now, shall we proceed civilly to meet your husband, or must this become unpleasant?" Marcus moved with startling speed, shoving Neela aside as he lunged for Tanner. The disruptor fired, the energy blast scorching the wall where they had stood. In the confined space, the two men grappled for control of the weapon. Neela scrambled for Marcus's fallen pulse pistol, her fingers closing around the unfamiliar grip. Tanner slammed Marcus against a storage container, the impact echoing in the small room. "Neela, run!" Marcus shouted, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. Instead, she raised the pistol, aiming at Tanner's back. Her hands trembled. She had never fired a weapon before. Tanner sensed her hesitation. "You won't shoot," he taunted, pressing his disruptor against Marcus's temple. "Your kind lacks the resolve for violence. It's why you need males to protect you." Something snapped inside Neela. All the fear, all the subjugation, all the years of being told what she was and wasn't capable of crystallized into a single, clarifying moment of rage. "You're wrong," she said calmly and pulled the trigger. The pulse blast caught Tanner in the shoulder, spinning him away from Marcus. The disruptor clattered to the floor. Before he could recover, Marcus delivered a precise strike to his jaw, dropping him unconscious. "Nice shot," Marcus said, breathing heavily as he retrieved Tanner's weapon. "I was aiming for his head," Neela admitted, her hands still shaking. Marcus's laugh was equal parts relief and admiration. "Remind me never to make you angry." He quickly bound Tanner's hands with cord from his tactical belt. "We need to move." Whether he was bluffing about Litha or not, we can't take chances. As they prepared to leave, Neela paused, looking down at Tanner's unconscious form. "He still has my ring." "Is it important to you?" Marcus asked, surprised. "After everything?" Neela knelt, searching Tanner's pockets until she found the small red gemstone. "Not for what it represented," she said, slipping it into her own pocket, "but for what it's worth. My daughter deserves more than a life on the run." Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Let's go get her, then." Hand in hand, they stepped over Tanner's prone form and into the corridor beyond, leaving behind not just their pursuer, but the last vestiges of Neela's former life. A life where she had been valued not for herself, but for what others could take from her. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and the looming confrontation with Ren. But for the first time, Neela faced the future not as someone's possession, but as her own woman, one who had discovered the strength to choose her own path. The maintenance corridors grew narrower as Marcus and Neela approached the central hub of Meridian Station. Security alerts blared at regular intervals, announcing increased patrols and identification checkpoints. "They're locking down the entire station," Marcus muttered, checking his tactical display. "Ren must have more influence here than we realized." Neela's thoughts raced to Litha. If the ship is under lockdown, Terran vessels maintain sovereign status even when docked, Marcus assured her. "They can't legally board without permission from our captain, but they can prevent departure." As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with a security patrol. 4 officers in station uniforms, led by a tall, distinguished Meridian with elaborate rank insignia. "Halt!" the leader commanded, his hand moving to his sidearm. Marcus raised his weapon, positioning himself in front of Neela. "Stand down," he warned. "Terran Alliance business." The commander's eyes widened in recognition as he looked past Marcus. "Lady Voss?" Neela stiffened at the use of her married title. "Commander Prell." Marcus glanced between them. "You know each other?" "Commander Prell was head of security at my husband's estate," Neela explained, her voice tight. "Before his promotion, Prell signaled his officers to lower their weapons. A promotion earned through years of witnessing Lord Voss's activities and saying nothing," he said, his tone bitter. "Until now." Marcus kept his weapon trained on the commander. "What does that mean?" "It means," Prell said carefully, "that I've been waiting for an opportunity like this. Lord Voss's trafficking operation has corrupted half the officials on this station, but not all of us." He looked directly at Neela. "Some of us remember when you first came to the estate, Lady Voss, how your spirit dimmed with each passing month." Neela studied him, searching for deception. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I have a daughter too," Prell said simply, "and I've spent too many years watching girls like her disappear into Voss's network." He turned to his officers. "Secure this corridor. No one passes without my authorization." To Marcus he said, There's a service lift 3 sections ahead that will take you directly to the diplomatic docking ring. It's reserved for official use, but my clearance will grant you access. Marcus lowered his weapon slightly. And what do you get out of this? The satisfaction of finally doing something right, Prell replied, and evidence. He produced a data chip. Security footage from the Golden Nebula, financial records, transport manifests, everything the Terran Alliance needs to bring down not just Voss, but the entire trafficking network. Nayla felt a surge of hope. You've been gathering evidence? For years, Prell confirmed. But I needed someone with the authority to act on it. Someone beyond Voss's reach. He handed the chip to Marcus. The Terran Alliance fits that description? Marcus pocketed the chip. This is a serious risk you're taking, Commander. Less than you might think, Prell said with a grim smile. Lord Voss arrived an hour ago. He's currently at Docking Bay 7, demanding access to the Terran vessel where your daughter is being held. Neela's blood ran cold. Letha is safe for now, Prell assured her. Voss is invoking diplomatic protocols, claiming his wife and child have been kidnapped. He's trying to force the Terran captain to surrender them legally. That won't work, Marcus said. Our captain knows the situation. Perhaps, but Voss has brought documentation, marriage certificates, birth records, even psychological evaluations, claiming Lady Voss is mentally unstable and a danger to the child. Prell's expression darkened. He's prepared a very convincing case? Neela felt sick. He would claim I'm insane? It's a common tactic among the elite of your species, Prell said gently. When a mate becomes inconvenient, Marcus's jaw tightened. We need to get to that ship now. Follow me, Prell instructed, leading them through a series of unmarked doors. My officers will create a diversion near the main concourse. That should draw attention away from the diplomatic docking ring. As they hurried through the station's restricted areas, Nayla's mind whirled with memories of her life with Ren. The gradual isolation, the subtle undermining of her confidence, the way he'd convinced her that her perceptions were flawed. Had he been preparing for this possibility all along? You're quiet, Marcus observed as they entered the service lift. I'm afraid, she admitted, not just of Ren, but of myself. What if there's a part of me that still believes him, that still thinks I deserve what he did to me? Marcus took her hand, his warm fingers intertwining with her cool blue ones. That's how abuse works. It makes you doubt yourself. His eyes held hers. But I've seen your strength, Neela. You shot Tanner to save us. You've survived everything they've thrown at you. Trust that strength now. The simple faith in his voice steadied her. Humans were remarkable that way. They believed in possibilities, in change, in the power of individual choice. It was what had drawn her to Marcus from the beginning, that unshakable conviction that people could be more than what society dictated. We're here, Prell announced as the lift doors opened onto an opulent corridor. The diplomatic docking ring. Bay 7 is at the far end. Through the panoramic windows, Neela could see the sleek lines of the Terran vessel, the Alliance insignia gleaming on its hull. So close to freedom, yet separated by the most dangerous obstacle of all, Ren himself. I can see him, she whispered, spotting the familiar figure gesturing angrily at a Terran officer. Even from this distance, Ren Voss cut an imposing figure, tall, immaculately dressed in the formal attire of a high-ranking diplomat, his pale blue skin a shade lighter than Neela's, his silver hair cropped short in the traditional style of their people's elite. He's brought security, Marcus noted, counting at least 6 armed guards flanking Ren. House Voss private security, Prell confirmed. Not station personnel. They answer only to him. Marcus checked his weapon. We're outgunned. Not necessarily, Prell said. I can approach openly, claim I'm responding to the diplomatic incident. That might create an opening for you to reach the ship. And then what? Neela asked. Even if we get aboard, Ren won't simply give up. He'll find another way, another station, another jurisdiction. Marcus studied her face. You want to confront him? It wasn't a question, but Neela nodded anyway. I need to end this, not just run from it. It's risky, Prell warned. Voss is not accustomed to being defied, especially publicly. Good, Neela said, a new resolve hardening within her. Then it's time he learned. She reached into her pocket, fingers closing around the small red gemstone. Her wedding ring, the symbol of her bondage that had nearly become the key to a different kind of slavery. Now, perhaps, it could serve a final purpose. I have a plan, she said, looking between Marcus and Prell, but I'll need both of you to trust me. As she outlined her idea, Neela felt a strange calm settle over her. For years, she had been valued only for what others could take from her beauty, her status, her obedience. Tanner had seen her as merchandise. Wren had seen her as property. Even the Golden Nebula had wanted her only for what her body could earn them, but Marcus had wanted her for herself, her courage, her determination, her capacity for growth. And he had shown her what it meant to be valued as an equal, to be desired rather than possessed. Now, standing on the precipice of confrontation with her past, Neela understood that the greatest gift humans had to offer wasn't their protection or their passion, it was their unwavering belief in freedom, in the right of every being to choose their own destiny. And she had made her choice. The diplomatic docking bay gleamed with polished surfaces and elegant design, a stark contrast to the gritty Rust Belt where Neela's journey had begun. Dignitaries from various species mingled near the refreshment tables, drawn by the unusual spectacle of a Terran vessel being denied departure clearance. Ren Voss stood before the ship's sealed airlock, his aristocratic features arranged in an expression of righteous indignation as he addressed the Terran captain on the external comm. "This is an outrage," he declared, his cultured voice carrying across the bay. "My wife and child are aboard your vessel against their will. I demand their immediate return under Galactic Compact family rights statutes." The Terran captain's voice was cool and professional. "Lord Voss, I've reviewed your documentation, but I also have conflicting testimony from the individuals in question. Until this matter is resolved through proper channels, they remain under Terran protection." Ren's jaw tightened, though his diplomatic mask remained intact. "Captain, perhaps you're unaware of my wife's condition. Her mental state has been deteriorating for some time. In these delusions of mistreatment..." "Are those delusions, Ren?" Neela's voice rang out as she stepped into view, flanked by Marcus and Commander Prell. The assembled dignitaries turned, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Ren froze, his pale eyes widening momentarily before his composure returned. "Neela," he said, his tone softening to one of concerned affection. "My dear, I've been so worried. Come, let's discuss this privately." He extended his hand, the very picture of a devoted husband. Neela approached but stopped well beyond his reach. "There's nothing to discuss privately." "Not anymore." Ren's gaze flicked to Marcus, hardening. "I see you've found new companionship. How disappointing." He turned to the gathered officials. "You must forgive my wife. Her judgment has been compromised by this human's influence." "My judgment has never been clearer," Neela countered, her voice steady, "which is why I'm here to return something to you." She held up the red gemstone ring. "This is what started everything, isn't it? The symbol of ownership that you used to mark me as your property." A ripple of discomfort passed through the alien dignitaries. Ren's smile became strained. "Neela, you're making a scene. This emotional display is precisely what concerns her doctors," he added for the benefit of the onlookers. "Am I emotional?" Neela asked, her tone conversational as she moved closer, the ring extended on her palm. "Or am I finally speaking the truth? That this ring represents not a marriage, but a business transaction. That you selected me not as a partner, but as an acquisition?" Ren's security details shifted uneasily as she approached. "You always did have a flair for drama," Ren said dismissively. "Take the child and come home. All is forgiven." "Forgiven?" Neela laughed, the sound brittle. "What exactly am I being forgiven for, Ren? Escaping the prison you called a marriage? Refusing to be another asset in your collection?" She tossed the ring at his feet. "I don't want your forgiveness. I want my freedom." Ren's mask slipped, just for an instant, revealing the cold calculation beneath. "Freedom is an illusion, my dear, especially for beings like us. We all serve someone." His gaze shifted to Marcus. "Even your human paramour serves his masters in the Alliance." "The difference," Marcus interjected, stepping forward, "is choice. Neela chooses her path now, Ren's lip curled in disdain. How quaint. Humans and their obsession with individual choice. He turned back to Neela. And what of Litha? Would you deny her her birthright, the privilege and protection of House Voss? Protection? Neela's voice sharpened. Like the protection you offer the women you traffic through establishments like the Golden Nebula? A shocked murmur ran through the crowd. Ren's expression darkened. Careful, wife, or you tread on dangerous ground. I have evidence, Ren, Neela continued, undeterred. Financial records, transport manifests, testimonies from your victims. She gestured to Commander Prell, who stepped forward with a datapad. Your operation spans 3 sectors. How many lives have you destroyed in the name of profit? Ren's composure finally cracked. You dare to threaten me? After everything I've given you? His voice dropped to a menacing whisper. Do you think anyone will believe the ravings of a mentally unstable female over the word of a respected diplomat? They might believe this, Neela replied, reaching for the discarded ring. As she picked it up, she pressed the hidden mechanism Marcus had installed hours earlier. The gemstone split open, revealing a miniature recording device. Ren's voice emerged from it, crystal clear. Freedom is an illusion, my dear. Especially for beings like us. We all serve someone. His own words continued, growing increasingly incriminating as the recording played his unguarded threats and admissions. The color drained from Ren's face. You? Set a trap, yes, Neela finished for him. I learned from the best husband. Commander Prell stepped forward, his security officers moving to flank Ren's guards. Lord Ren Voss, under the authority of Meridian Station Security and in cooperation with the Terran Alliance, you are detained pending investigation into charges of sentient trafficking, corruption of public officials, and multiple violations of the Galactic Compact. Ren's guards looked to him uncertainly. For a moment, violence hung in the air, like a storm about to break. Then, with the practiced grace of a lifelong diplomat, Ren straightened his formal attire. This is a misunderstanding that will be cleared up promptly, he announced to the gathered dignitaries. I submit to this indignity temporarily to demonstrate my respect for due process. As Prell's officers moved to secure him, Ren locked eyes with Neela one last time. This isn't over, he said softly. You'll never be free of me. I already am, Neela replied, turning away from him to face the Terran ship where her daughter waited. The airlock cycled open and Litha burst through, running into her mother's arms. Behind her stood Officer Keller, smiling in relief. Mom, you came back, Litha cried, her small arms tight around Neela's neck. I promised, didn't I? Neela whispered, breathing in the scent of her daughter's hair. And now we're really free. As Prell's officers led Ren and his security detail away, the Terran captain approached. Agent Reynolds, he addressed Marcus, headquarters is quite interested in the evidence you've collected. This trafficking network appears to extend far beyond what we initially suspected. Marcus nodded. Commander Prell deserves most of the credit, sir. His documentation will be invaluable to the investigation. And Lady Voss's testimony, the captain added, turning to Neela with respect. Your courage today has done more than secure your own freedom. You've helped countless others. Neela felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the praise, and everything to do with the way Marcus looked at her, with pride, with admiration, and something deeper that made her pulse quicken. What happens now? She asked, still holding Litha close. Now, Marcus said, his hand finding hers, you decide. The Alliance can offer you protection, relocation, a new identity if you want it. And you? Neela asked softly. What are you offering? Marcus's smile reached his eyes, crinkling the corners in a way that had become achingly familiar. Partnership, he said simply. If you want it. Litha looked between them curiously. Are we going to live with Marcus now? Neela laughed, the sound free and genuine. Would you like that, Starlight? Litha nodded enthusiastically. He makes you smile. Real smiles, not the pretend ones. Out of the mouths of children, Neela thought, marveling at her daughter's perception. She turned to Marcus, suddenly shy despite everything they'd shared. I don't know how to be a partner, she admitted. My people don't. It's not how we're raised to think. Then we'll figure it out together, Marcus said, his fingers intertwining with hers. Day by day, choice by choice. As they boarded the Terran vessel, leaving Meridian Station and its shadows behind, Neela reflected on the journey that had brought her here. It had begun with desperation, a wedding ring offered for food, a pawn shop owner's cruel proposition. "We want you, not this trinket," Tanner had said, seeing only her value as a commodity. But Marcus had wanted her for herself, her strength, her courage, her capacity for growth. He had shown her what it meant to be valued as an equal, to be desired rather than possessed. In the ship's observation lounge, as the stars streaked past in the blue swirl of hyperspace, Neela watched Letha chattering excitedly with Keller about Earth and all the wonders that awaited them there. Marcus joined her by the viewport, his arm slipping around her waist. "Having second thoughts?" he asked. Neela leaned into him, savoring the warmth of his body against hers. "No. For the first time, I'm not afraid of the future." "Good," he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple, "because I have plans for us." "Plans?" she teased, turning in his embrace. "That sounds suspiciously like you're making choices for me." Marcus laughed, the sound rumbling pleasantly against her. "Partnership means making plans together. I propose, you dispose." "I like the sound of that," Neela said, rising on her toes to meet his lips with hers. As they kissed, framed against the backdrop of infinite stars, Neela knew she had found something far more valuable than security or status. She had found freedom, not as an abstract concept, but as a living reality, embodied in the choice to love and be loved on her own terms. And that, she decided, was worth more than all the rings in the galaxy.